management of that fire that they have not asked my opinion on anything. They invited you instead of me to come up and review the fire afterwards. It was just a gross mismanagement of a public resource.
Really?
It's an embarrassment that the Forest Service performed that way.
Well, have you heard of that happening where a fire just ravages a place so hot, and then when you're done, the trees' roots are burned out and they fall? Is that it?
Some of them do. I've gone out on some logging operations on the salvage after a fire, and you have to be careful, and it takes a professional cutter, but there's lots of them around that know how to do that. And they can fall those trees in a safe way and salvage the value. It's just criminal to leave that valuable timber out on the ground to rot. But
Yeah, it seems to me, that seems hook a line to it and pull, and get out of the way.
hey, welcome, Joan. You're on the big screen. We see you.
I don't see me.
Here,
Hey, Joan.
I'm behind the what?
you're behind the file thing there, but I'll show you I'll get you in a minute.
Okay, sorry.
Where you at, Joan?
What?
At the station? Yeah, I guess you are.
I'm at the station.
Joan, while we're waiting, I have a question for you. I've been searching my files for a document that a former fire chief wrote concerning the ISO classification of our district, and that document was to be used by patrons who question their insurance assignment other than a 10. And I have a neighbor behind me who's complaining about the district, and she's a bit misinformed. So I wanted to give her a copy of that and let her query her insurance company, So if you run across that document, I would appreciate a copy of it.
Traditionally, members of the district have requested from the chief a letter saying what our standards are.
Yes.
And that's been good for the insurance companies.
Well, that happened in a number of cases. I used to tell them to call the chief, and my own personal experience was that they had charged me when I renewed my policy for the next year as I was a 10, and I had to tell them no, and they corrected it and it cut my rate in half.
Not right now, but yes, they do. Why?
Well, I'm just wondering if you got that going.
Yes.
So it's quite significant.
Oh,
Well, do we have a quorum?
Let's see here.
Here. Do you hear Skip?
Don't see him here, and I haven't heard him check on yet. So we're down. We're up. We have 3 and 4 total.
So we've got Joan and Pam and John and myself, and then Brian, you're at the station too?
I am, yes.
Well, that constitutes a forum. Let's start. It's 5 o'clock, more or less. I'd like to call to order the scheduled meeting of the Hazeldale Rural Fire Protection District and start working through our agenda. We have actually, unfortunately, I didn't communicate very well with you, Brian, but I did publish an agenda, and I did not end up getting you a copy. So you sent out an agenda, which is great, just slightly different than the one I published. So we'll work through the agenda. Are there items on the agenda that people want to cover that aren't covered, that weren't covered?
Mr. Chairman, you want me to take this agenda down and work off yours? Or you want to work off this one?
I'm okay with working off yours because I printed it out too.
Okay.
The only, we have a few more details on mine, but not much. So
Right,
getting right into the August accounts payable.
I have an addition to the agenda. Well, which one? And so yours is the official one.
Let's use my agenda since
Okay.
it's not up on the screen, which will probably be not a big deal.
Okay.
Okay, I say, hey, Scott, welcome. So the first item on the agenda is to review the agenda and agree if that's what we want to do or not. And that might be difficult because we didn't get a very good distribution of the agenda. I published it at the fire station and at the library, not the library, but the post office and the Rays. So let's just move right on to the financial report of the August accounts payable. Go through that so we can pay our bills.
Excuse me, Herb, would you want to take up the minutes from the last regular board meeting?
Oh, that's one of the things I missed.
Yeah.
Yes, we need to do that. No, I'm sorry, I have it. Thank you.
Okay.
So are there questions or concerns about the meeting minutes from the previous meeting?
I sent them out to people. Did everybody get them? By email?
Yes.
Last night?
I make a motion to accept the agenda and the minutes.
Okay, is there a second to accept the minutes?
I'll second the motion to accept the minutes. I do want to highlight the equipment readiness paragraph in there. And I think Scott will probably address that in equipment readiness, which is in the fire chief
Chief
report.
report.
Is that correct, Scott? Hey, Scott.
Yeah, I have some information for you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
it's been moved and seconded. We approve the minutes from the previous meeting. All those in favor of, say aye.
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 Melinda.
I did,
And passed by all the board members present. Thank you.
because I grabbed the wrong one to bring here for my own. Okay.
Okay, so now we're ready to talk about the accounts payable. Is that correct? Yes, it is correct. By definition.
Yes.
Okay. So who do we want to pay, John?
I got that.
I sent that out as well. We're paying Lane Electric, Mark Hager, for $300 for his cutting the grass at the station, and Robert Baker for his trip to the SDAO conference in February, and the bookkeeper. And I have one more check that I might write. We paid the workers' compensation invoice early, $125. Oh no, this is a different one. Oh, I didn't see this one. This is $598.11. Or 3,000, yeah.
Is that for the office works, Joan?
Well,
Is that what you're addressing now? The office works billing?
97. I'm sorry. They sent us an invoice, and then we ordered the check. We sent the check in, and we did that quickly because we couldn't have met their. If we waited, we couldn't have met their deadline by waiting till the next month. But then we received another invoice saying they had misstated the tax. The state had changed their tax. Did you get that too,
Mhm.
for the city? So we got a second invoice for, I think it looks like $2.97 more than the first one. So I'm going to check with them and write a check for the difference. If they stick it to us. Does everybody agree?
You know, I'm not following you.
Okay,
What item on the report are you addressing, Joan?
it is not, this invoice is not, I did not send to the bookkeeper. It's not on the list of invoices to pay.
Oh, it's not on the list of payable documents.
We
Okay.
already paid it several months ago in June, I believe, and sent it at the end of June.
All right, so you want an authorization to pay that bill, right?
After I submitted the original invoice, they came back and said, whoops, we didn't calculate the state of Oregon's new tax rate on this. So it's a couple dollars more expensive than what we told you before. So I'm just bringing this to your attention now that I can contact them. It'd be $127.97 total instead of $125. So
We're going to end up paying it. So
127 what?
no, $127.97 total. Originally, I believe we paid him $125 several months ago.
So you're gonna write a check.
So we owe them another 295, is that right?
97, yes.
That's correct.
I would accept the motion that we pay the bills.
Okay,
I second the motion.
With the addition of the new one. With the 2 something more for the office work.
It's workman's comp. They miscalculated the rate, and so they've got there's a change in the rate, so they're just making up the difference, $2.97.
Okay. that makes sense.
97 cents.
97 cents.
Okay, is there additional comments on the motion?
I make
All
a,
those?
I
go ahead,
make a
Pam.
motion,
Thank
whatever.
you.
Okay,
That we pay the bills.
Yes,
And John seconded that motion, so we're okay. If there is no further discussion, we could vote on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
aye.
Passed unanimously by the board members present. It's going to be, I don't know how we're going to do this financial retrospect. How are we doing financially? Are we within our budgets?
we're only one, are you asking me? Or are you asking?
I'm asking you, Joan. We normally do the financial report at this point,
I sent it out,
and
I sent out one statement. I sent it out because the bookkeeper was working on getting the budget in accurately. And I had to go back and forth with her several times. So I sent you one page here for the general account, how we're doing on the general account. It only includes, it's the budget here, it says, here, but we only see July, so it's really just July costs. So,
right.
so total expense is $1,674. And income is $375 to the general fund. There was also income to the other 2 funds. That is just an allocation of the of our what do we call it? The what fund do we have? The fund that's held.
And we are.
The fund that's held with the state.
LGIP?
What?
LGIP?
LGIP. I'm sorry. Yes, so we've got revenue into the vehicle and land and facilities fund. And that's it. No expenses.
Joe, we have enough money to pay the bills?
Absolutely.
We should. We're just
Absolutely.
starting our fiscal year. We should.
Well, but the revenues are coming in November,
Yes.
and there is some, I think, legitimate cautionary concern about whether or not people are going to pay their property taxes this year.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've had any advice from the county or anyone on the. We normally talk about getting about 97% of the total potential revenue for the district. I'm just curious if anybody's talked about, is there a likelihood we'll get less than 97% because of all of the unemployment and the economic downturns?
Yeah,
Anybody have any insights?
it's Brian. There has been discussion about reduced revenues because of that very thing. It's really hard to even put a finger on how much that would be, but I would expect there will be some less revenue coming in.
Right. And I got a notification. I don't know if everybody is getting this because they're in SDAO, but I got an email saying that they were having a program where you could get I think a short-term loan from SDAO to cover certain costs. Did you get that? No, you don't get that. Okay, that's right. You're sitting. So they wanted to know real quickly from the districts whether they thought they would need that or not. And at the time, I didn't think we needed to go down that route, because then they wanted to sign you up for a program and get you involved. And my thinking was it was too early to tell.
So as a general board, we're prepared to make adjustments in our budget if we get less revenue, significantly less revenue than we forecasted. We have some cash reserves, I guess, that we can use if we need to. But we need to kind of start thinking about what happens if we don't get the income we expect. And I don't expect us to do it today over this conference call, but we ought to be thinking about if people pay or less collection rate on our tax revenue. That is our revenue. So we'll have to be cautious in how we spend money, I guess. Any comments on that?
Yeah, it's Brian again. So I've looked at that from a city perspective because we're obviously in a very more difficult position than you guys. And we've looked into what's called tax anticipation notes. So it's just what it sounds like. They give you a loan anticipating your tax revenue. And
Right.
so that would, we would go right to Banner. I've talked to Rusty about it. And it would be she estimated just a 2-week turn because it's pretty good collateral. And, you can take that, whatever you think you're going to need in a tax anticipation note. And, she won't come right out right now and say what the interest rate is, but it would be relatively, competitive. So.
Right.
Right.
That's another option. Right. And
So
also,
the bank would take first position on our income until we repaid the note.
Yep.
And that worked very well, by the way, when we borrowed money to build the station. They capture your tax income, and it worked out okay. But that's a good program.
and also I would note we anticipated making an interfund transfer of $40,000 to the other two funds that we're saving for land and vehicle. And so that's kind of available. We wouldn't do that if we were really hurting. So.
All right. Well, we just need to think about that when we're doing things.
Yeah.
We're ready to move on the agenda to public comments. Is there any public at the meeting in the fire station?
No, sir. It's just Joan and I.
Okay. Last time I made a mistake and missed. We had a public there, and we included our thoughts a little bit, but I had a hard time keeping track and keeping that public involved. And so we want to make sure that if somebody shows up, we respect them and help them to work within this a little different process. Okay, old business. John, you were going to talk a little bit about our task accomplishments.
Yeah, I was gonna do the action report, and Joan sent me what she had, and I haven't updated this report, but I'm just gonna review it quickly with everybody. You hear me all right? Everybody hear me
Yeah,
clearly?
you're doing good.
Okay. Uh, there are, Joan has done a nice job in listing these action items. And currently we have 22 action items and 6 completed action items. Now, let me go down the list rather quickly. Renew the IGA with the city, and we were going to met with Brian Keachin in December. Need to locate the signed copy. I think we did that, didn't we?
All done.
Yeah, we did that. Yes. No, wait, it said we met with. I guess it's completed, so that won't appear again. Annual audit review of finances. Need a list from the CPA, and that was completed. Meet with the city regarding the selection of new chief, and I don't know. I guess that's proceeding cautiously, huh, Brian?
Yeah, very cautiously.
Okay. SDIS best practices for insurance credits. That's an open item. I just list that. The yard light at the HP station. Uh, Higdon to contact Lane Electric. Did that happen, Scott? Do you know where we are on that?
Stop there.
Sorry, I don't know if he contacted Lane Electric or not.
All right. The issue was if you had to draft at night, there wasn't much light by the plug. So if you would mind looking at that.
I
Yeah.
think Eric mentioned last time that the water tenders and the engines have plenty of light on the apparatus, and that I got the impression he wasn't really seriously concerned about drafting in the dark. But
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
The engines have plenty of light. The tender does not have a lot of light on the side of it. But we may have another vehicle parked there that could put out enough light for us too.
That would be good. For now, I guess that's good enough. Item number 7 is define the position for someone to prepare minutes and agenda and board packets, and we made the entry there, COVID delayed, and so that's where that stands. Define the secretary treasurer duties, and the Peterkin action, and she's done a rough outline only, and it's a low priority, so we're not doing much on that. Develop the district policy for third-party use of its property. I have acquired the application that the school system uses, and it's very good. So I'll be adjusting that and sending it to everybody, so that if anyone desires to use the station or whatever, then we have a form. I'm still putting together the write-up on the policy itself. Develop a new agreement with ODF. We kind of shoved that to the back of the scale because of the COVID. And open house on High Prairie Station, that's delayed because of COVID. Develop a website. Skip has got some information on that, but I think that's probably going to get the category of COVID delay. Repairs to the HP station. Uh, one of the items was the motion lights and the video camera. Has that been resolved, Scott, that you're aware of? Eric was tracking that.
He was working on it. We actually got it completed.
Okay. Well, I suggested to him that he call the company that supplied that to us and come troubleshoot it, fix it. But you know, I just wonder if it's worthwhile. We need to consider whether we even want to activate it again. We haven't had any break-ins or anything like that, so the board would have to decide on that. But I would like to get a status of it for the next meeting. All right. Next one. Joan, that was yours. Obtain a contract with new bookkeeper Deanna Baxley and review the draft. Are you done with that one?
No, I haven't done it yet.
You haven't worked on that?
I haven't had time to work on it, anything like
Okay.
that right now.
You know, Joan, I have a problem hearing. I know no one else has, but could you face the camera?
The microphone's right here.
Oh, no wonder.
There you are. All right.
Okay.
And that's good. We can hear you now.
No, I haven't done anything further on that.
Okay. Signatures for the Banner Bank checking account. Peterkin to give bank copy November 2019 board minutes. Baker to sign a form. Has that been done? And we got everybody.
Yes, everybody's signatures is correct at Banner Bank.
Okay, good. So we can close that one out. Purchase the file storage cabinets. Pam, we were working on that and COVID got in the way. So I think the paperwork is still all around and we just.
Yeah. We'll get working on it.
Okay, understood. So I'm going to put COVID delay on that one. IGA with ODF, that's on hold too. That's a COVID hold. And with the situation on tax revenues, it could become a real problem. Not that we really need it, but it seems that we're moving all right. Surplus, sell the Ford 250. Bids to come to board review. Have we done that?
I'm going to talk about it in the update, but I might as well take it up now. So you voted to surplus the vehicle.
Yes.
What I want to do is make sure it's okay with the board. My intent is to put it on an online auction with the rest of the City of Oak Ridge surplus material, recognizing that any revenue gain from the sale would come to the Hazeldale budget, not the city's.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Me too.
Me too.
Okay. And that
Okay,
auction
so-
should start the first of the month and go for 30 days. And I'll link next week. I'll send the board a link to the auction site.
Oh, that would be great. All right, thank you. And item 22 that we had on there was develop driver's qualifications and duties. I was working that with Tigton. And the conclusion on that in my conversation with Eric and Scott, you could verify this, was why don't we just train somebody to drive a truck and get some pretty savvy people to do it, because if we need 2 tenders at a fire, we'd have them. But Eric tells me that your policy is not to permit anyone to drive the trucks unless they're a qualified firefighter. And is that correct?
I don't believe so, because the first step in volunteers is they become a driver. So I'll let Scott comment. I saw you come off mute here.
Well, if we can proceed in that direction, I think you'd have drivers. But right now, I don't know whether you have enough. Maybe you do. Scott?
There's a process we can put people through that doesn't require them to be firefighters first, but they can still obtain a certification to be able to drive an engine or a tender. And, that reduces our liability and provides a lot of safety for people. Training is very important. And that way we have a way of documenting it, that it's actually been completed.
So then we can proceed on, because I meet a lot of people who are ex-truck drivers. And I haven't asked them whether or not they'd like to do that, but it would be good to have that backup. So can I proceed with occasional recruitment opportunities? What do you say, Scott?
I would say if they have an interest and would be willing to attend a couple of classes that take 2 weekends to complete, and once they complete those courses, we have our own in-house driving things that we would put them through. But if they're willing to do that, then I don't see any reason why we shouldn't.
Good, thank you. That's a good step forward, I think. But I understand we have enough volunteers. My understanding is that, right?
Yes, our volunteer ranks have grown significantly, and we're working on getting them trained to the capacity that we need, and things are going very smooth right now.
Oh, great.
Can I ask a
Congratulations to that, to all of you who worked on that. Well, that concludes my report. Anybody like to add something to the action list?
I would. And that is, last time we talked about the address signs. So that needs to be.
Oh, that ought to be on there. You're right. You're right. Good. I'll add that. I was going to ask, how's that going?
I did some research, and I sent everybody an email so you guys would have the information. But Chrissy talked to Justin, and Justin said that we actually have enough signs to get started, so keep us busy for a while. But we're looking at about $1,400 to purchase about 100 signs. So I don't know how many residents we have out in the rural area, but that's about what it would cost per 100. And that's for everything, all the incidentals and anything we would need to install those.
That sounds good.
So do we have a place in the budget where we could cover that cost?
We
Does
have,
anybody know?
we have a budget of $100 for expenses.
How much?
$100.
Well, that won't cover it. I'd like to get a sense from the board, but I think we want to do this. It's a matter of how are we going to do it within the construction or the confines of our budget. I think we have the money. We just need to find some legitimate way of paying for this.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to not worry about it until we start getting money. And
Yes. Yes.
Just to let you guys
This
know,
is a discretionary item. Go ahead, Scott.
just to let you guys know too, Christy's been working with some of the new volunteers when they're doing their driver training. They're going out and identifying houses that don't have numbers or are not visible. And
Good.
so we're getting a pretty good list of people that need them fairly soon, if you guys decide to go through with this. And we do have a large contingent of volunteers that are very interested in going out and doing this.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah, I thought that we just start about waiting to find out how our tax revenue is coming in to see if we're going to be short of money this year. Since we didn't really budget for this.
So
You know,
can the board agree that we'd like to do this, but we'll defer the action until after we look at our revenue?
I certainly would
Yes. I
suggest that, yeah. I
here's,
make a motion to that effect.
I have one,
Okay, is there a second?
please let me make a comment. Last time, there was a lot of things that were ordered according to our prior chief. There was a lot of things here, but they disappeared. They because they weren't being used, they just went away. You know, they walked out the building. And so I think we would be concerned that when we would order stuff, it would be sitting around. If we didn't have a real plan to use it, who was getting this, and somebody matching the invoices for what we got, that these are going to disappear as well. So I just have concern that when we do order, we make sure that the materials are stored securely or whatever, you know.
Can I say something?
Sure.
We actually do know where all the sign stuff is. I don't know exactly how many we have, but we do have enough to get started and get some addresses marked. I think, you know, because you guys had it set up to where there was a fee for that, you know, I think we kind of need to know if you still want to charge that fee or if this is something we're going to do for the members of the district.
I don't think we ought to charge a fee. It won't happen if you charge a fee, because that material I sent you, Scott, was vintage 2003, remember?
Yes.
And we didn't have everybody banging at the door with a check in hand. So I just think that we ought to do it. Just
So
do
John,
it. Yeah.
John, so that we leave an appropriate paper trail on this, would you mind making a motion to the effect that you just stated?
Okay. I make a motion that we pursue the inventory of needed signs, make the signs available without fee to the resident, and investigate a way to obtain necessary funding. And with that, I would recommend, well, I don't want to mix the two, so that's my motion.
There's a second to the motion. It's been moved and seconded. I guess my interest would be that we would look at the operations side of the fire department to determine the priorities of placements of these signs. They have a sense, I think, on where we need to make the investment first, and eventually we'll cover the district. But from an operational point of view, the point of this whole thing is to make it easier and more reliable to respond to a call. And I think they're in the best position to know what that priority would be.
Right.
Well, I have a comment. We do have a policy in place that was voted on by the board since I have been on the board, and that started in 2015. So we do have a policy. I have to go look at it. When I went to look at it, all I found is probably in our minutes. I found our expenses and our income, so we know what we bought today, which may be what Scott has someplace. But we did actually formally have a policy.
You know, the enlightened members of Congress have a process where they include in a bill or a motion that this motion, this bill, this proposal supersedes, precedes, and replaces all previous commitments or comments. And this is what we want to do today. And that wouldn't hurt us at all, I don't think.
Well, I call a question on my motion. It stays away from the funding, and we could talk about that separately.
I think it would be wise to go ahead with replacing the the address signs that we already have in the areas that are really hard to find, that they take care of that now while we have those at the station.
Right.
I think you're right, Pam, that we don't have any out-of-pocket costs, which I believe was Joan's concern, and I guess would be mine too, that we need to be careful about spending new money, but we've already spent that money, or somebody has. And so that we could have the volunteers, when they're doing their drills or training, to start implementing the strategy. Is that?
Yes.
Look, as I recall, we bought the poles. We bought some poles, but we didn't buy the numbers because we didn't know what the numbers would be until someone needed it. So if it's 40, if you're at, depending on what your address was, that's when we made the order for those numbers. So we might not have any actual numbers to put on the sign.
Well, Joan, maybe the next step is to figure out what exactly we have and what can we do with the available resources. And if we don't have adequate resources, then what do we need to add to get this project off center without making a big impact on our budget? Because I'm like the rest of you, I'm concerned that we may have a budget shortfall.
Well, just to add one other thing, but we ought to take a vote on this because we're very positive about doing it. However, I would consider the signs a part of the district, and therefore it's a facility of the district. So we have money for facilities, and I think that we could transfer money out of the necessary funds out of the facilities account into the sign account and make ourselves well now. So that's something, Joan, you want to bustle about and see if we can do it, and without causing a lot of trouble in the financial area.
Well, so John, you have been watching C-SPAN, so you've got how Congress does this sort of thing. If it is the facilities, and we have a facilities account, we could just bill against that.
That's right. We have a facilities account. Why don't we use it?
We wouldn't need to transfer money to anything. We would just show that's where the expense occurred.
What account is that, though, Joan? What account is the facilities? It's in capital.
Joan's talking and I can't hear her.
Pardon me?
Joan is talking.
I don't know what account. I don't know what account you're talking about. Are you talking about a land and facilities fund? Or a general fund account?
5460-1, buildings and ground maintenance. There it is. There's the money already there.
That is.
It's got $7,000 in the budget.
Use less of that. We're already have another. Okay. We've used 600 of it, 10%. That really, the appropriate place to put this is the address sign program expense line item. You can go over the amount that you budgeted. You can go over the amount that you budgeted as long as you don't go over your bottom line by a certain amount. Mm-hmm. Right, Brian?
Yeah.
So the total materials and services, we have $142,000. So it doesn't matter if one particular line item exceeds the expenditure. You're looking at your bottom line.
But we're not talking about a lot of money, and we are talking about a need that if we could figure, just as you've mentioned, there's an appropriate way of doing it, and that's what we should follow. But the other driving thing is that we probably have to start out on it and take advantage of some things we have available.
Well, I'd recommend voting on the motion and then use the budget you have and just notify the board if it looks like you're going to go over budget, and then we can look at it.
Good. Let's move in that direction.
I don't know what the motion is.
I'm sorry, Joan.
Who made the motion, and would you repeat the motion?
Would I repeat the motion?
Was there a motion?
John Melinda,
I'll be very happy to. Brian captured it and moved us ahead, but I'll put the motion up. That we support the inventory list of residences that necessary to respond to by offering signs free of charge and installed free of charge. Period. That'll get the program going, and then we'll talk about where the funds are going to come from at another item. Brian, is that satisfactory?
that's fine. Yeah, we'll use the budget we have, and we'll notify the board if we're going over budget, and we'll make sure we stay within the guidelines.
That's good. Okay.
So there is a second to the motion. So the motion is on the floor. Is there any more discussion?
Okay, I would ask another question from a different point of view. If the residents, I could see that some people might not want to sign with their address. They don't want to be served papers, or they have something going on that they don't want people to know about. I mean, I'm just putting out that there could be people who might not want to sign. So maybe we ask them first before we put it up.
Well, I think that you had that in mind, didn't you, Scott?
Yes, that was our plan. We'll make contact with any resident that we want to install a sign permission before, but that was our intent.
Yeah, I think you'll find them acceptable to that, except my neighborhood.
Okay,
All right.
so let's have the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Joan, couldn't tell how you voted.
May at this time, I'm just,
Your answer was no. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay. So the motion passed with 3 in favor and 1 in opposition. Okay, we're ready to move on to the new business item that one of the board members raised with me is that the process for identification and installation of officers on the board, that we have just kind of moved through the motions without a formal process for identifying officers of the board, and if in fact we do need or want an installation process, and how we want to handle the positions on the board. So I'd offer that for discussion.
I can't remember. Pam, do you remember what we did? Do?
Excuse me?
Do we elect positions for the board every year?
Yes.
Yes?
You have a chance.
Yes.
Yeah.
The answer is yes. There you go.
So have we done that recently?
Not for this new fiscal year. Is it fiscal year, Brian?
As far as the elections, I don't know.
Well,
I don't think we did.
it would be because it would be fiscal year because we just had the election in May for, if you had new officers, they would have been elected in May. So then they would be installed as soon as possible after in July. So I would just like to say about that last year I thought that maybe Skip would like to be the secretary, but I'm not getting, I haven't pushed it with him, and I'm not getting him to, take minutes or anything like that. So at this point, I would be comfortable taking on the secretary treasurer again if he wants to relinquish the secretary. If he's not here at the meeting.
Yeah, he's not here.
Yeah, we can't ask him. So I would offer that at this time.
So what is the sense of the board? How do we want to proceed? Do we want to go to a,
Well, you know, COVID being what it is and uncertainties, what it's going to be, and hopefully we get out of this, I would like to make the motion that the officers stay where put, the ones that we have now. And if they agree to that, I'm certainly satisfied with their performance.
Well,
Sir,
I think we need to rethink Skip doing the secretarial work because he's not doing it. He's not attending the meetings. So I think we ought to just put it back to Joan if she wants it.
So,
Well, along with that, Pam, we got to get Joan some help. And
I agree.
you agree. And
yeah. Can we
Yeah.
focus on the motion on the floor or the business that, do we in fact want to have a carry forward the existing board members until we get through this whole period of trauma? Or not?
someone's going to have to come here and take the meeting minutes and put them together, because if I'm not getting credit for it, and I don't know what other organizations are contacting me that should be contacting Skip. We don't know what's going through him that he might be missing.
Okay.
Because
Well,
we send out, we send out a list of our officers to many organizations, and they might be trying to contact him to get some work done, and nobody knows about it. I don't know.
Okay, I would entertain a motion that we return the secretarial part of the job to Joan. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion on the motion? Those in favor signify by aye. Aye. The ayes passed unanimously by the board members present. Back to the other motion, do we want to pass the unanimous ballot for the existing officers for a continuation of their positions for the upcoming year?
I second the motion. I consider that a motion.
What do you think, anybody?
I think that would be a good thing.
Did anybody make the motion?
I did. You did.
John seconded it, but I don't think anybody versed it.
You pinned the motion
You
on.
did.
Okay, discussion on the motion. All right, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Joan, I can't
Okay.
tell what you're doing.
Know what the motion was. I'm sorry.
The motion was that we extend, as we have modified your position to being both treasurer and secretary, that we continue the existing officers in their positions for the coming fiscal year. It's been moved and seconded. We're up for discussion and or a vote. And we've had a kind of a trial vote, and we're kind of to you, Joan.
So this continues what we had last year?
This continues that you are the secretary treasurer, John is the vice chair, I'm the chairman. What other officers do we have?
That's it.
That's it. That we continue that roster for the coming year.
Are we voting?
Yes,
Aye.
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 passes unanimously by the board members present. Thank
There
you.
go. There you go. Okay.
Now we're ready to move on to the chief's report.
Okay, a couple things and then let Scott chime in. As you know, we sign up for conflagration duty every summer they get called to fight major fires. And we try to set a schedule. We're up again and they have a primary and a secondary. Our duty time was going to be primary here coming up, and we're going to have to withdraw, and it's not a negative thing, but we just have to be honest with them and say, we've got some vacation coming up and we've got some folks missing. So we really can't leave the department as undermanned as it would be if we got sent away on the conflagration. So we're going to back off that. Just so you guys know, it was for coverage here. We were uncomfortable with the amount of coverage we would have left behind. Next is we found a mistake. Joan did actually found a mistake in our budget. If you remember, we had a discussion during the budget committee talking about increasing the amount put towards the bookkeeper. So we did that. We put that in as an additional expense of $600. We didn't take care of that on the revenue side, so our budget doesn't balance. So what I would recommend is that we just take back that expenditure. The easiest way to fix it, there's nothing required but a motion by the board, but that we remove that additional $600 from the expenditure in that line item. The budget balances, and kind of the same idea. If we go to exceed that budget, we just let the board know it's a small amount of money. It won't bankrupt us, but that's the easiest way to fix the budget problem. So with that, I would ask if someone would make a motion to take back $600 from the allocation for the bookkeeper.
I second the motion.
Somebody has to, you can't second it, John. Somebody's got to first it.
Can't second mine anyway.
Okay.
That was Brian. He made the motion. Go ahead.
It has who moved the motion?
I'll make the motion.
You'll
That
make the
we-
motion. Is there
I'll
a
make
second to the motion?
Okay.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we take the $600 and build it into the account, and if we exceed the balances, we'll make it right in the final analysis. Discussion. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. John, are you participating?
Aye. Excuse me.
Aye.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by the board members present.
Thanks,
Carry
Scott.
on, Chief.
We'll make the changes to the budget so it balances, because accountants don't like it when things don't balance for some reason.
Thank you, Brian.
Lastly, just something food for thought for the board, and it kind of came up in John's discussion with security cameras around the building. The thought is that maybe once we get past this COVID thing and the kind of the drought till taxes come in, consider the idea as cable internet gets available to the station, that perhaps getting an account would allow you to have security cameras, inexpensive security cameras that actually would connect to your phone, and they're motion based, and you could pipe it into as many people as you want to send an alert. In addition, I think it would make the property more desirable for OFD or anybody else that would want to use it to have internet available. And so it's a cost you might want to consider as we go forward. In my mind, I don't know how far spectrum is down the road, but I understand they may be getting close to where the station is.
Would you do that through Spectrum, or would you do it through the phone company?
My preference would be Spectrum, because cable internet is much better as far as bandwidth and reliability than DSL. But again, I don't know how far Spectrum has gone down there, so it would obviously be hinged on whether they can do that.
I know it's all the way down to Mountain View where my son lives. He's got Spectrum, so they could tap in anywhere online.
Okay. But maybe better held until after we get through this, the tax income coming in.
All right.
Because I know for my residential, it's like $44 a month, I think, for internet.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Anything else, Chief?
Scott, do you have an update on the equipment?
Yeah, and I did send out some information to you guys also on this. Our Oak Ridge's 1531 was sent in for repairs. I think if you remember, we talked about the fact that that engine had not passed the pump test and was sitting up at the Hazeldale station and not very useful. We did get it in, and they made some minor repairs to it, and it did pass the pump test. So you now have a working engine at the Hazeldale station. 2921 is in at Oregon Apparatus right now. They're taking a look at it to do an estimate to see what the repairs would be on that. It's been there for several days, and we haven't heard back from them yet, as of yesterday anyway.
Scott, what is that? Is that a tanker or what?
It's an engine. It's
An
the
engine.
red Ford engine that was up there.
Lakeport.
And it's at the station? No.
No.
Right now it's at Oregon Apparatus, but it's normally at Hazeldale Station. It's your guys' primary engine.
All right.
John, he said it was the Lakeport engine.
Okay. Go ahead, Scott. Excuse me.
And that's the status on those vehicles. I don't have any other maintenance items for you.
Let me ask you, what do we have up there? We have two tenders, right?
You have one working tender up there. The other one is not reliable. I think Eric just replaced the batteries in that one, and I haven't heard a status update if it's running or not. But you do have one tender up there, and then we have one tender at the Oak Ridge station.
You have one of our tenders at the Oak Ridge station, but you say there are two up at High Prairie Station, right?
Correct.
Okay. What are those numbers? You happen to know what they are?
I'm sorry, you kind of cut out.
Do you know the numbers of the? What are the
vehicle
numbers?
number?
Yes, vehicle number.
2916, 2915, and I think the other one is 1516, which technically is Oak Ridge's tender.
Yeah, 15, 16. Now, which one has the 18 rig trailer, the puller on it? Is that 2915? No, that
Yes.
must be 1516.
It's the older Ford that's up there.
Okay, it's a Ford. And that's 1516, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's the Ford. Now, and is that operational?
That's the one that that Eric just replaced the batteries in, and I didn't hear an update if it was usable or not.
Well, are we working to get that fixed?
Right now, I don't know the status on it, but I can find out for you.
Okay. We've got to get all these units working because we're getting into fire season and somebody's going to need some water. And so, anyway, okay, so that you'll get a status on. And what's the 2915? What is that? That's the other tender, right?
Correct.
It's operational?
It is operational.
Good. All right. So that's two engines are up there and two tankers, right?
Right now, there's one engine, which is Oak Ridge's 1531,
Okay.
and there's two tenders up there. One is operational, and I'm unclear if the other one is operational.
Okay, and you're going to check on that and get us operational. Good. Okay. I guess that's all the questions I Uh, all right. There's no problem. Well, you can't move it. You have to get the the technician here to see what's wrong with it, right?
Correct.
Okay. And he has to be a certified emergency vehicle mechanic, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Scott.
And
Welcome.
Chief, anything else you want to share with us?
That's all we have.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Do the directors have anything to report?
You know, I have a question. And what are the county plans for COVID-19 vaccinations in East Lane County, which would include Hazeldale and the people up here? And what is the county's plan for testing? Uh, I don't know whether you all share that information, but you're closest to it, I guess. Can you illuminate me on that?
Yeah, I'm part of it. There's no vaccine yet, so they really haven't. I know that the health department must be thinking about it, but they haven't shared the kind of a vaccination plan.
Uh-huh.
However, on the testing side, obviously, if you're symptomatic, then you can go get tested immediately at any of the health clinics here or in Eugene. If you're asymptomatic, if you aren't showing any of the symptoms, then it's more difficult to get a test.
Yeah.
What they have done is Lane County, and when I complained to them about, kind of the leaving out the rural communities, they did offer testing here, if you recall, back in June, and 99 people went and got tested. And I asked them when they're coming back, because they were going around to all the rural communities and offer a day of testing. So they're expecting to come back to Oak Ridge either in September or October and do another day of testing. So we'll hopefully get some more.
Now, I assume critical folks like the fire department personnel get preference on that, right?
Well, in Eugene, they actually had a day of first responder testing. And again,
Okay.
if a first responder shows up with symptoms, then they'll immediately test them.
Well, are we in line to get that testing for our districts?
Not unless you're symptomatic. There's nothing.
Yeah, but just in general, to have our folks know what they've got, because if somebody, as I think the rules are, if you're if you get the virus, that quarantines everybody, and I don't think we could afford that.
No, they have very specific rules about if you're traced to being exposed, then you're going to get tested. So, say in any case, one of our responders took a COVID patient, I'm sure they would they would give that person a test because they were right next to them for 45 minutes at least.
Uh-huh.
But if no one shows any symptoms, then you're not going to just automatically get a test because you're a first responder. It's just, because a test is only a snapshot for that one day that you're COVID free. You could very well be exposed the very next day. So,
Okay.
Tracing program is kind of the key to it. As soon as they find someone that pops, then they do the tracing, and if you're a part of that group, then you'll get the test.
Okay. Now, I didn't know about, as a resident of High Prairie, I didn't know about the June testing and the offering to do that. Where was that posted?
over.
Did you know about it, Pam?
Yes.
How did you find out?
I saw it online and I also saw it on a sign. I think they put it in the Echo.
I think it was in the Echo.
I get the echo.
So
Who's handling that?
the city website, on the city Facebook page, and I think it was pretty well circulated amongst the kind of the community. Maybe not High Prairie, so we'll try to do better on that one when they come back.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any other directors report? Anything else for the good of the order?
I have a question.
Joan?
Yes, this is to Brian. Did you send the letter to the CPA for our audit? Did you get anything back from him?
No, nothing yet.
Okay. All right, we can talk about it when we get it. Okay, that's fine. That's it.
Okay, hearing nothing in addition, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second the motion.
It's moved and seconded, we adjourn. All those in favor, adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you guys.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Bye, Joan.
Bye.